honestly, it's really upsetting to see. We work with so many young people, and all they want is to be able to get on with their lives at school, to be able to have a normal education. And there's just this pressure to take that away from them coming
Yeah.
out of the government right now.
Let's talk to Cleo Madeline of Gendered Intelligence. Morning to you, Cleo. Hi, Cleo, you there?
Morning, Stiggs.
Morning, Gago. Got you there. I don't know how much you heard of what Miriam was saying, but in her view, there needs to be this very simple, clear guidance. It does need to come from the government, and effectively, it needs to empower teachers to say your birth sex is your birth sex, and really everything flows from that.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time, I suppose, when, of course, we were all keen to see this guidance coming out because it's been promised for many years now. And what we initially were looking forward to was some help for teachers on how to support young trans students and how to implement the Equality Act in supporting that. And fundamentally, I think that's really what we all want here. I understand that the conversation around trans issues and around trans people, and let's not forget that really we're talking about people here, has become really politicized, really hot, quite toxic, particularly online. I don't really want to wade into all of that, but it is really, really important that young trans people are being looked after at school and that educators are being empowered to look after them. And that's why it's so concerning, I think, that the trajectory this guidance has taken is one that is increasingly embroiled in fighting a culture war, in pushing for a political cause. Like it's not going to improve the lives of any young people to drag them into these conversations about whether or not you can change your sex or who counts as a boy and who counts as a girl. Like these are fine conversations for politicians to have, but they shouldn't be setting educational agendas.
I guess the point is, though, clear that they have practical consequences because I have a 14-year-old daughter. I know that various of her friends are differently fluid. They have different views on their gender and their sexuality. And generally speaking, that seems to just be fine. They get to work through it. I guess the question is, if someone goes to a school and they have to decide which toilet they go to, or if someone is referred to by a teacher and someone has to decide which pronoun they get used to describe them, Miriam Cates' view is that should be the teachers empowered by the state to go back to their original birth sex. That's simple, but I don't know what you think. Does that sound fair?
Well, I mean, it's not fair, but also we know from listening to the voices of young people, we know from research that's being done by organizations supporting young people like the Trevor Project, that that's harmful to young people. And we know that it gets in the way of existing safeguarding efforts. We have developed, since the dark years of Section 28, processes in place to support LGBT young people in schools, to facilitate conversations about their identities, and to bring those into play with their peers, with their families, in a way that is safe. And that is the work that educators and that safeguarding officers do. And for the government to now take that out of their hands, to insist that schools treat LGBT students a certain way, it's going to cause harm to those students. It's going to hurt their mental health. It's maybe even going to put them in unsafe positions with their peers, in unsafe positions with their families. And I don't think any of that has been considered. I don't think the voices of people actually doing the safeguarding have been listened to at all, because this isn't really about the well-being of students. This is about the government using young people to push an agenda. And honestly, it's really upsetting to see. We work with so many young people, and all they want is to be able to get on with their lives at school, to be able to have a normal education. And there's just this pressure to take that away from them coming out of the government right now.
And we're not going to see the guidance anyway this side of the summer, so maybe it'll come later on and we'll see precisely what it says. Cleo, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
That's Cleo Madeline there of Gendered Intelligence.